Oh my god. Hip hop.
Ow. What I'm gonna explain in this video is when I started making beats, is how I started to understand the drums. So what I did is something I like to call is mirroring drums. So you're probably thinking, what do you mean you mirror drums? What you do is you get a drum loop. I'll put a link in the description to the drum loops that I started with or I still typically use. And they should be free to download and they're safe. They're not like gonna cause damage to your PC or whatever. But you drag the drum loop into the playlist. This is the playlist right here. And then you have your channel rack. We're not gonna get into that. We're just doing the playlist today, okay? But this is a drum loop. Now, if you're used to making beats, you're gonna look at this and be like, that's off time. And it is. So, how do we get it on time? Well, with our BPM that I have this set at, 98 BPM, very, very typical for the genres of hip-hop rap, okay? If you get into like breakcore or Venetian snare, you're getting up to double, almost triple that. We're sticking at 98 BPM right now. But with this metronome on, you're going to notice that the clicks from this metronome do not match up with this drum loop right now. It's very off time. So how do we get it on time? What you're going to do is you're going to double click the drum loop. And this waveform is going to pop up. You're going to right click it. Go down to edit in audio editor. Click it and this waveform is going to pop up again. Right click that. Go down to regions. And then go down to detect beats. You're going to see a number right here. And it's going to sync. So now that those numbers from the BPM of this drum loop are synced, you're going to right click the drum loop on the playlist. Go to fit to tempo. Type in BPM. Click it. And those numbers that were synced in Edison are going to pop up. So when you hit enter, this drum loop is going to stretch. And the pitch is going to change. But we're not going to get into the pitch changing because we dragged the loop out. But go ahead and hit enter. And it obviously dragged. Now with the metronome on, it's going to be on time. It was not like it before when this wasn't stretched. So now that this is on time, you can get your elements. And I chose a drum loop that just has hi-hats, kicks, and snares. So, drag your elements into the playlist. You have your hi-hat. You have your snare. You have your kick. Now, when I say mirror, you're basically listening for these sounds in this drum loop. So, go back, listen to it. I hear the hi-hat clicking on every single one of these lines. So I'm going to place them on all these lines. Don't take offense to the way I'm explaining this. I'm just trying to be as relatable as possible to someone that's just starting out on FL Studio, and this is just the way that I did it when I started. I just mirrored drum loops to make my own. It's not like illegal to do it. It's just a way to slowly get you to a progressive standpoint of doing this without having to mirror drum loops. So with those hi-hats placed there, we're going to go ahead and play it just to check it. I know these sounds are not the same as this drum loop. I just dragged them in as an example. But like I said, you were listening for these sounds in the drum loop. So I have the hi-hats in place on time. Now we're going to listen for the snare, okay? Now, when you think of a drum beat in your head, you probably immediately go to like the thumps, is the kick, okay? So we're going to be listening for the thumps in this. Now this drum loop is pretty simple. All of the kicks are placed here. I think. No, not there. I can't do this right now. My mind is not working. But this doesn't need to be exact to the sounds that you think you hear, because aside from that, it's also your own creative standpoint on where you place this stuff. But I'm just doing this to show, like I said, what I did in the beginning when I started making beats. So we're gonna mix our kicks with the playlist to see how it sounds. Sounds pretty good to me. Now with the snare, like the ch is the snare. That's what we're hearing. That's what we're listening for in this. You hear the ch. That's the snare. So go ahead and mirror it. Right here. Right here. Right here. So, with the hi-hats, the snares, and the kicks all mirrored from this drum loop, we have our own drum loop. And with that, it's not quantized, I don't think. No, it's not. Just copy and paste it. Just make sure it's somewhat on time. You have a full 4 bars of a drum loop. Now, to not make it sound so typical and what people like to say robotic, you can start taking some of these out. So let's just, I don't know, take this one out. Take this kick out. Take this kick out. Take this snare out. So there's more, there's more, the way to explain that this is different is there's more room, there's more area, there's more openness to it. You see what I mean? So go ahead. Hold on. So what I mean when there's more area is with those deleted patterns like we did, it won't sound so robotic. It won't sound so typical. So you just start removing these. Don't go too crazy. Don't go too wild. Maybe remove it on top of the kick so it's just the kick playing there. So there's 8 bars here of a drum loop, and there's some room created in the second half of it. So you have some variation now. So it's not just this playing the whole time. Now that's going to do it for creating mirroring drum loops and making drum loops in the playlist. I think the next video I'm going to get into the channel rack. That's a whole nother story. But if you learned anything from this video, comment down below, just so I can get some feedback on like what I did wrong or what you'd suggest I do better, or if it's helped you. Because seeing the comments and whatnot from my recent video, I know these numbers are not big. I know it. To me, they're big though. This is something that when I upload a beat or a tutorial, even though I've only uploaded like 2 tutorials, and I see these numbers, it's like, okay, people actually need this. They could use it. Because I've been in the point when I started making beats that I was like, how do I do this? So I downloaded the free trial of FL Studio, which I still have. It's in trial version. But yeah, this was just a tutorial on how I started making drums.